Number of people here to get started. So Colleen, if you'd like to start the recording, we'll get going.
All righty.
Great, thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Ziegler. I'm the Associate Director for Workforce Programs within the Student Financial Assistance Division at WSAC. We are so glad that you joined us this morning. We're going to be talking specifically about a few of our workforce programs, although we have quite a few in our area. So we're going to go into detail on those and give you plenty of time to ask us questions and be able to get some questions from you to get us to know as well what things are on your mind so we can make sure to address those here or as follow-up. So I am joined this morning by my colleagues in workforce, Jacqueline Cook, who you'll see in just a little bit, Coco Whitty as well, who you see, and Kristen Jenkins as well. So you probably know their names if you work with us. We are quite excited to have you here. So during this session, we are going to disable the chat function because we really want you to use the Q&A tool. It's a great tool for us to be able to track your questions. Others can add comments. So if you see a question that you also have, you can upvote that. You can add a comment if you have some insight, but it's a great way for you to share what you're thinking on the questions you have with us. So please use that tool. Additionally, we are recording this and the slides will be available. So if you'd like to view it again or send it to one of your colleagues, there'll be an opportunity for that and we'll send that out to you via email. So who are we? We are the WSAC team, the workforce team within WSAC. As I said, my name is Melissa. I am now 1 year. I've been with WSAC, super excited to hit that 1 year. It's been a great year remote with this team. There are 3 other members of the team. So Kristen Jenkins is our program coordinator. She provides support to all of our workforce programs. And Jacqueline Cook is one of our program managers. She manages the Washington Health Corps program, which is our loan repayment program for healthcare providers in Washington State. And our new program as of July 1st, 2020, the National Guard Grant. Coco Whitty is another one of our program managers. She manages the Educator workforce programs, which we'll be going into detail on 2 of those this morning, as well as our aerospace loan program, our college assistance migrant program, our childcare program, and Get Ready for Math and Science. So quite a few smaller programs, but then some large ones in her area as well. So as a team, last year we had a pretty exciting year. We launched 1 new program, the National Guard Grant, and we revived 2 of our programs within Educator Workforce. So we've been quite busy and we so appreciate all the support and flexibility you've provided us during this time. And we look forward to sharing with you some of those updates on those programs. This is what we'll be covering this morning. We're going to talk just very briefly about what is coming for academic year 2022. We're going to talk specifically about some technology updates, which I'm sure for those of you who process our awards, this is exciting for you as it is for us to see those coming. Also about our program manuals that are in the works and coming to you soon. Then we're going to zoom in on our National Guard Grant, talk about some details there, and again, give plenty of time for Q&A, as we know this new program has a lot of nuances that we all want to become experts on. Then we're going to transition to 2 of our Educator workforce programs. So the Student Teaching Grant and the Teacher Shortage Conditional Scholarship. And then last, we'll talk just a little bit about program marketing and student outreach and what we've been doing so far and what we hope to do soon with your help to get the word out to more students. So coming up in this academic year, 2022, we are working very diligently with our IT team to continue the portal updates. You probably, if you support our Teacher Shortage Conditional Scholarship Program, you're familiar with some of the updates we've been doing. We continue to update that program. We've also added in the Student Teaching Grant into the portal and are in the midst of getting certification, awarding, all in the portal as well for that program. We also are working on getting the National Guard Grant into our portal, which will mean hopefully no more Excel spreadsheets back and forth, but instead using the portal as our main tool to interface with all the financial aid administrators who help us support that program. So the certifications and verifications Those will be the two big ones that impact the FAAs that we hope to have those up and running very soon. We also are working on landing pages for the FAAs so that when you log in, you're able to see a great summary and details of the students at your school. Additionally, we are working on program manuals. As we know, these are quite detail heavy programs and they are new to you or they're refreshed to you and us as well. So we're going to be publishing those in the summer of 2021. They'll have details on program information, policies, and procedures. And this is really our first version since these programs are either new or refreshed out of mothballs, as we like to say. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to give us feedback and let us know if there's any information that we're missing, more details you'd like to see, any of that. So we'll be looking to you to hear back from you about how we can improve those. Okay, so let's get into the National Guard grant. We're going to talk about the award calculation, examples and allowable uses of award funds, military benefits and the award calculation, and changes to enrollment and the repayment policy. So I'm going to pass things over to Jacqueline to talk about the National Guard grant.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Cook, as Melissa said, and the first part of our presentation will be around the National Guard grant award calculation. So the award calculation is impacted by 5 main factors. The first one being the type of institution. So that tells us the maximum award, which will match the Washington College grant by school type chart. The second factor is the level of enrollment that a student has. Number 3 would be total aid. The fourth factor is the expected family contribution if that student is receiving need-based aid. And then also, all students who are eligible receive $500 for a stipend for books and materials. We're going to focus in on total aid as military benefits become an important consideration at this stage of the award calculation. So here are a few examples of the National Guard grant. And so the first example is a student receiving some need-based aid. They attend a public CTC 2-year. So their maximum allowable award for the full year would be $4,219 based on their school type. If they're enrolled for full-time 3 quarters, and their aid is $5,300 of federal and state aid, and their EFC is 0, then their award calculation would look as such. So their tuition and fees, cost of attendance, minus their total aid, which would be that $5,300. And then that would equal 0. So this student would only receive $500 for their books and materials. The second example is showing a student receiving no need-based aid at an independent or private 4-year institution. So the maximum allowable award for them would be $11,440. If they're enrolled full-time 3 quarters and their total aid is 0 with an EFC of $85,353, then their tuition and fees, cost of attendance minus total aid, plus the books and materials, which would be $500, would equal out to $11,540. So they would receive the maximum award with the $11,040 plus the $500 for books and materials. Oh, I'm sorry, can you go back? So it's important to note that sometimes it's in the student's best interest to decline Washington College grant or other types of aid if the student has a low Washington College grant award, but has a higher than 0 EFC. It's because we did have an experience where a student was going to miss out on their National Guard grant award for receiving far less in Washington College grant. So assuming that the student is interested in the service obligation, it made the best sense for them to decline their Washington College grant award. Also, just want to make sure that unmet need is only a factor if someone is getting need-based aid. Just want to point that out as well. And that National Guard grant awards are calculated based on a maximum of tuition and fees, but can be used towards any cost of attendance. So I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions so far.
No questions yet, Jacqueline.
Okay, great. We can move on to the next slide. So with the military benefits and the award calculation, we would ask that you follow the guidance provided in these two resources, the 2019-2020 FSA Handbook, Volume 3 and Appendix A, along with the guidance on federal veterans education benefits for purposes of the Title IV Student Assistance Program. We sent updated information later on in the year to make room for more National Guard grant funds for students. So this is a little bit more of an update. Examples of funds not to include in federal aid for National Guard grant are Chapter 1606 benefits, Go Army benefits, and post 9/11 GI Bill benefits. If you have been incorrectly calculating aid for students because this is an update to you, please contact us through either our email or you can give us a call because we still have time to adjust 2021 awards and possibly give higher awards to students if this is impacting them.
Jacqueline, we have a question. Can you talk about how students how they get notified about the award amounts and when they get to accept or reject that, how they're notified so they know in relation to their military service if they want to extend for the contract or not, if they were in that position?
Sure. So we send out an award letter once we have calculated their National Guard award, and it gives them a breakdown. So because the award is based on enrollment, we break that out into awards per term that they're enrolled. So if someone's awarded, like in the example before, full-time 3 quarters, that $11,540 would be split over those 3 quarters. And so we allow students to accept part of their award or their entire award if they know that their service obligation is tied to that. And we did have an experience where a student didn't want their service obligation to extend, so they only actually did accept the award for the fall term so that they wouldn't have that 1 year would only be calculated after that.
Thank you, Jacqueline. We have another question. I think it relates from a school. How do they know who is receiving the grants? So I'll take this one. Currently, WSAC, we send Excel spreadsheets to our financial aid administrator contacts to do a certification on the student. So we'll ask questions about EFC, cost of attendance. We will also ask about projected enrollment, and then we'll get updates on that throughout the year. So the financial aid administrator would have the list of who has been put forward for certification. And then when we send funds over, we notify of who is getting the awards. In the future, when we are working in the portal, there will be a login point for our financial aid administrators where they'd be able to log in at any point in time and see the list of people who have any action needed regarding certifications or updates to any changes in the award. So for right now, the information is sent to the financial aid administrators. They are the main point of contact for that. If you are serving in an SCO role, I think we would have to talk more closely about what data we could and could not share with you about students, but certainly we'd be open to that conversation and figuring out what we are allowed to do. There's another question that came in from regarding how does the student award work for students who are accessing post 9/11 benefits. So as we're noted here, and as Jacqueline said, midway through the year, a little bit earlier than that, we updated our guidance to follow federal regulations. And so according to the FSA Handbook, Volume 3, Appendix A, it gives a very specific list of what is not to be counted towards EFA. And post 9/11 GI Bill benefits are on that list. So what this could mean is that a student would still be eligible for the potential maximum National Guard grant award. So that would be something where we would work very closely with the financial aid administrator in that scenario to make sure we're properly understanding the aid that they are sharing with us and where that gets classified. And as this is something that tends to be confusing, we'd work very closely with the FAA to ensure that we have all of those award details in the right place to make the correct calculation for that student, and then be able to advise the student on what that award amount would be in conjunction with using those benefits. So we received another question about if we ask for cost of attendance, it is not overall cost of attendance, but just tuition and fees cost of attendance. So actually we ask for both. The reason we ask for both is that if someone is receiving any need-based aid, we need to consider their EFC and their total aid, but the ceiling for that is cost of attendance. If someone is not receiving need-based aid, the equation changes slightly for us in terms of what we look at to calculate that. So we actually ask for both values in that scenario. And we have a question from Greg about, isn't Go Army now called Army Ignited? Greg, you might have more updated lingo than we do. We are going off of what our National Guard partners call that, as well as what's in the handbook. So we will look into that classification, that name, and see if we need to update our language. So thank you for sharing that. Another question came through about where's the handbook located? We have not sent it out yet. So we are in the process of working on that because our technology is in the process of being created right now. So we want to make sure we release the program handbook right after that is finished, which we hope to be probably in August, so that you have very updated guidelines about not just policies, but procedures from financial aid administrators of how to actually process awards, how to use the system. So that will be coming. And again, there's a clarification. So Go Army is not included in any of the calculations. That is correct. Again, I highly recommend looking at the guidance that's available in the FSA handbook. It is very detailed about what is and is not to be calculated. And those are all federal guidelines that, again, this program follows. Another question here about if the grant can be used for items other than tuition and fees, will this adversely affect their housing allowance? So again, the award is calculated based on those values in the financial aid package, and the student is then has authority over those funds. Most of the students, the majority of students will have those funds go towards tuition and fees, but that is something that they could be in conversation about with the school if they wanted a different direction for those funds. A clarification about the definition of need-based aid for this program. So need-based aid for this program, we have that listed out on our spreadsheet that we send to the financial aid administrators. Jacqueline, if you have a moment to be able to just read the details of that. So it's the state and federal grants or waivers, those lists. If you actually wouldn't mind chatting that as a response to that Q&A, we can put the full list of what we ask for in there. And there's a clarification about where the handbook will go. Can it go to veterans offices in addition to financial aid? Certainly. I think that's a great idea. We can definitely send that out. We do have an SCO listserv that we received from one of our WSAC veterans military benefits members who manages WSAC priorities in that area, so we can certainly send out to that list. Okay, I think those are the majority of the questions that have come in so far. We have one more slide, so if there are more questions, keep them coming. And certainly if we can't answer something live, we will either type an answer for you or we will follow up with you afterwards to get you the details that you're looking for. So Jacqueline, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Okay, for the National Guard grant, we ask for quarterly verification to check on enrollment. So changes to enrollment are likely to mean changes to the award amount. So it is important for financial aid administrators to let us know as soon as possible if a student's award amount or if a student's enrollment changed, because that would impact their award amount. So time of withdrawal is important. If a student attended classes, then withdrew, they can keep their award at their original award level. If a student did not attend classes and withdrew prior to the start of the class, then funds will need to be returned based on an updated award amount, which we will send you. The conditional scholarship converts to a loan if service is not fulfilled, and we will track eligibility with these repayments and changes to enrollment. So that was the end of the National Guard award and calculations, and then changes to enrollment and repayment policy. Are there any other questions?
No questions at this time. I just wanted to reiterate from a broader workforce perspective. About midway through the year, we came upon some scenarios that related to repayment with the program. And after consultation with our other SFA colleagues, we are following the Washington College grant policy regarding repayment. And so if you've been doing financial aid for a long time, this is something that I believe was instituted in this academic year, that students, if they attend classes and then they withdraw, we treat that as attending the class and they're able to keep the funds. Now, because in our workforce programs, we do have conditional scholarships, that person would still owe the service obligation in exchange for those funds. Or potentially, if they do not fulfill the service, those dollars that they got would convert to a loan. So it is something to think about if you have students who are withdrawing temporarily but coming back for the next quarter versus withdrawing entirely. It might be a different conversation with that student. And we're happy to have that conversation with the student as well to talk about what are the benefits to keeping the funds versus returning the funds right away if there is concern that the funds might convert to a loan.
Couple more questions before you move on.
Thanks. So I see a question here about what if they withdrew and then you're asking us to certify. So we would be asking you to indicate to us, did they attend classes or not? And if they attended classes, we consider them at the same cost of attendance as attending those classes, and the award level would be based on as if they attended the whole term. So even if you were certifying afterwards, that would be how you would report that. Now, depending on, again, the student's situation, they may decide that they don't feel confident that they are going to be able to fulfill the service obligation, so they may decline those funds. However, they may feel confident that they are going to fulfill that, and so it might be in their best interest to keep those funds, which hopefully would get them back on track to stay in their classes for the next term. So another question about SCOs knowing who is using the grant or not. Again, that's an issue we would have to look up what our regulatory requirements are in terms of sharing that information with SCOs. I think the ultimate best place to go would be within your institution to talk to your financial aid office, who would always have that list of students who are currently awarded and receiving funds. We will follow up though and ensure that we have that policy correct, but your financial aid office would be the first place to go for that information. And then another question, if we certify for a student but never get an email indicating that funds were sent, do we have to follow up with enrollment changes? So in our new system, you will be prompted who is on your list and who you would need to report on. Right now, we realize that going back and forth in Excel has been at times a difficult and confusing process. And we really appreciate all the effort and that you've put into that, all the communication back and forth. It's been extremely helpful for our students. Moving forward, you would have a login location where you'd be able to go and see if that person is still on your list. So if you're seeing enrollment changes, you'd be able to submit a verification that would notify us that there was a change to that student's enrollment. So that is coming. We hope to see that here in time for fall quarter. And there'll be more information on that. That's a great question. Okay, we're going to transition over to talking about our educator workforce programs. That doesn't mean we're leaving National Guard grant questions behind. So keep typing those in the Q&A. We'll probably set them aside until towards the end. But excellent questions. These are all things that are helping us think about what we would need to address with you all, as well as in that program handbook. Our educator workforce programs are made up of 5 programs. We're going to focus in on 2 of them: the student teaching grant and teacher shortage conditional scholarship. We're going to talk first about the award calculation for those 2 programs, examples of that award calculation and allowable uses of award funds, changes to enrollment, and the repayment policy, which you'll see there's a trend. It's pretty similar to our National Guard grant. So I'm going to pass this over to Coco, and I'll be back if we see questions.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Nicole Whitty. I do go by Coco, that's my nickname. So you can call me whichever one is easiest. So as far as the student teaching grant and the teacher shortage conditional scholarship, award calculations are impacted by 4 main factors: cost of attendance, expected family contribution, total aid, and terms enrolled. So now I will cover some examples of that, and then we will pause for questions. So first example, if a student is receiving large need-based aid, the cost of attendance is $22,620. The expected family contribution is 0. Total aid is $19,539, and they're enrolled full-time for only 3 quarters. The award calculation would go like this: cost of attendance minus expected family contribution minus total aid would equal the award amount of $3,081. So on the second example, if a student is receiving a small need-based aid, cost of attendance is $22,620. Expected family contribution is 0. Total aid is $4,675, and they're enrolled full-time for 2 quarters. The award calculation would go like this: cost of attendance minus expected family contribution minus total aid would be what they're eligible for, $17,945. But since the maximum award amount is $8,000 and they're only enrolled for 2 full-time quarters, they would only be eligible for $5,333. So, and let's see, the student has a maximum award value of $8,000, and the maximum award amount they can receive each term. For quarter systems, the max award would be $2,667 per term. For semester systems, the max award would be $4,000 per term. An enrollment level can vary, and students are still eligible for the max award per term if they have unmet need. For example, for someone who can be enrolled half-time for the term and receive $2,667, and someone who is enrolled full-time for the term can receive $2,667. And the allowable uses of the funds are the cost of attendance, such as tuition, room and board, and books.
No questions yet, so I'm going to go to the next slide for you, Coco.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, so for changes to enrollment and repayment policy, oops. We do quarterly verifications for teacher shortage conditional scholarship to check on enrollment from the original certification date. Changes to the enrollment may not mean changes to the award. So time of withdrawal is very important to us. So if a student attends classes and then withdrew, the award remains the same and those funds go to the student. If the student did not attend classes and withdrew prior to starting, the funds will need to be returned based on the award amount. The funds need to be returned within 30 days back to WSAC, because the conditional scholarships do convert to a loan if service is not fulfilled by the student or if they don't get their residency teaching certificate in Washington State. Oops. So, and then the Washington Student Achievement Council does track the eligibility on a yearly basis for everyone. So, any questions?
No, none yet, Coco. So we'll keep going, but if you do have questions on educator workforce, please put those in the Q&A.
Thank you.
Something that we've been working on quite a bit this year, and we still have much room for improvement, is our program marketing and student outreach. So in addition to managing these new programs, part of our role is also to make sure that students know about them. And that's where all of you really come in to help us out, get the word out to students. So currently, we are relying quite a bit on emails for each cycle. So we send an email to the financial aid administrators when those timelines are opening up for applications. We also will send an email to the SCOs for the National Guard grant. And then for the educator workforce programs, to deans and directors of education programs. Last but not least, we have a newly created listserv where you can access the site to be able to join access the link to be able to join that listserv on our website. That is an excellent way to make sure you immediately get any announcements about our program. Those are mainly announcements about applications opening and closing, but also some celebratory announcements at the end of each year, letting you know how many people we awarded, how many dollars we were able to get out, and maybe some key highlights or quotes from the students we were able to serve. So I highly recommend adding yourself to that listserv. We have a listserv for National Guard grant. We also have a separate listserv for educator workforce programs. Additionally, we'll be posting our programs in workforce on the washboard. If you're not familiar with the washboard, here's the website. It's thewashboard.org. You can visit that site with a student and help them look at different opportunities for scholarships and grants in Washington State, and that's managed by WSAC. Additionally, we have information to help describe our programs. We have a website for each of these programs, and we are creating handouts as we get ideas and requests for those from our different partners. So watch for more releases of handouts and flyers to help you have these conversations with students. And of course, anytime that you receive an email from us, we really hope that you can send that on to a student listserv, specific students you know. Anytime you can reach out to a student one-on-one and encourage them to apply, that really goes a long way with students. Okay, I'm going to go back into the Q&A to see what questions have come in because we are at the end of our slides. So first question is about the teacher shortage conditional scholarship, asking if it's a need-based award. Yes, it is a need-based award. We prioritize awarding based on unmet need. And thank you, Robert, for asking what an SCO is. My apologies, I'm using an acronym without saying what it is. Public speaking 101, it's not good there. So that is and I hope I get this right, a school certifying officer, I think, or school certifying official. It's for our military and veterans programs. It is the person at the school who's really the point of contact and expert in those areas. And we have quite a few SCOs on this. So if any of them want to comment on Robert's question and say a little bit more about your role, I think that would be helpful as you are an expert and I am not. And then some more questions about the National Guard grant. So in the handbook, information about reporting tuition and fees for the grant. We will have a section where we define what is cost of attendance, what is cost of attendance, tuition and fees. We will also talk about what does it mean to have tuition fees maximum that match the Washington College grant for institution type. So we will be very specific about what does that mean and how a school could look at the chart and then follow along to see, okay, if I'm at a private 4-year, where does that put me for the maximum for my school? So we will make sure to include that in the handbook. And then the dates for applying for the National Guard grant, it's on a rolling application cycle. So this year, all students who want funds for academic year 21 must apply with us. So with WSAC, they must apply with us by June 1st. That is the latest that we can accept applications for this academic year. The good news is someone could apply, let's say May 28th, with information wanting funds for this academic year, and we can actually retroactively award them for the entire year. And we do have funds available for the National Guard grant. So if you know of any service members or potential service members who are interested, please, please, please let them know that there's still time and they can get funds all the way back even to fall term. And then a question about if a student is in default and not eligible for financial aid, are they eligible for the workforce educator programs? Great question. So unfortunately, they are not. That would be something where they'd have to move out of a default status to be eligible for these programs. I think that we've answered all the questions in the Q&A, but certainly if you still have a question, go ahead and type it in. While you're doing that, I'll just point your direction to our slides. We have, again, we talked about 2 of our workforce programs today, 2 of our major programs, the teachers programs in our educator workforce, and then our National Guard program. So these are our main contact inboxes. We hold customer service hours 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, almost every day except for weekends and state holidays. So please contact us there. We are happy to get back to you. We are also running our phone lines. So if you would prefer to call us to chat, our phone lines are on our website as well. So again, thank you so much for coming. We just appreciate your engagement, and these are excellent questions. We're going to review these Q&A questions to make sure that in our handbook, we really address the things that are still confusing to you all, as you are our partners to make sure that we serve students. So thank you so much for coming. It was nice to get to see a little bit of things going on in the Q&A, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. Take care.